fact, it was an innocent online purchase.
It looked very legitimate.
That disrupted an entire town.
Well, you can turn it off now, or you can turn it off in an hour when the police come around.
And ghosted by his fencer.
I contacted him again. Guess what? It's disconnected.
Can Fergo help Steve get his money back?
I just couldn't believe that people could be so bold like that.
Plus, scams. Are the banks responding quickly enough? The call centre Olympics team put them to the test. So, there's a little lesson in there. Hang on, hang on. Tēnā koutou katoa, welcome to the show. The man in our next story was in need of a fence. So he weighed up the options and decided on a custom-built barricade from a gate specialist, thinking, this'll sort it.
Well, he was wrong and came to fair go. Alistair has the story.
How many calls does it take to get a job done?
No one's turned up. In come the excuses. So I contacted him again. Guess what? It's disconnected.
How long do you persist before you give up? Steve Knowler's just about there. He paid a $7,000 deposit for an electric gate.
The quote was $13,600 and a bit of change.
A year later, the gate still hasn't been installed, and the installer, a no-show.
I just couldn't believe that people could be so bold like that.
People meaning GateSystems, an electric gate business, and its owner, Tizane Wakeling, or Zane for short. Just a note, Tizane is a sole trader, not to be confused with another registered company called GateSystems Limited. After months of no action, Tizane is taking responsibility.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to make things right, for sure.
So before we go there, we're at Steve's place.
Are you singing I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world?
Where Steve is dad. To 2-year-old Anastasia.
How did I end up here having to dress dolls? She's taken over the house, runs around like crazy. It's all about her now, of course. Off you go.
Which also means keeping her safe wherever she goes. Because on the road at the end of their drive...
Some cars just roar down there at full speed. We're just thinking about a bit of safety and also a little bit of privacy for our front yard here and security as well.
And Steve needs the security.
Oh, this is my pride and joy, my old Holden. I've got a couple of classic cars that you don't want people walking down the street to see.
So installing a gate made sense. He did some digging and compared prices.
I thought I'll get 3 prices from 3 different companies. All 3 of them required a 50% deposit. I landed on a company called GateSystems.
Tizane's business. He visited Steve himself to talk about the job. This was in March 2022.
I chose GateSystems because Zane seemed to know everything about the gates and he manufactured them.
The plan for Steve's gate...
The sliding gate would go all the way down here, 6 metres, and slide up behind the fence. So it would slide down here, and then there would be a 1.2 metre pedestrian gate here with access.
Tizane says he could do the job. He quoted just over $13,600.
He wasn't the cheapest and he wasn't the most expensive. He was in the middle.
Last August, Steve paid a $7,000 deposit. Tizane told him the job would take 8 weeks to complete.
8 weeks is not a long time.
That's the president of the Fencing Contractors Association, Phil Cornelius, and a fencer himself.
You have to order the products, they take time to get there, and then by the time you manufacture it and put it together ready for installation.
Phil says a 25 to 50% deposit is standard, and it should go towards the materials.
You secure those materials at that price, at that time, and that'll go towards the job. A lot of contractors have been burnt in the past, and getting a deposit sort of seals the contract more or less.
That's how Steve understood it. The only red flag he noticed was there was no GST added to GateSystems' quote. And when he asked Zane about it, he said...
We haven't registered the business yet, but we're going to do that in a couple of months.
Phil says stick to those who are GST registered.
Yeah, I'd say probably if you were employing a contractor that wasn't, there definitely could be problems.
But Steve had met Zane face to face and was confident he could do the job. They got the ball rolling.
And then silence. All communication was initiated by me. So it was just text saying, hey, you really need to call me. I'm not hearing anything from you.
Then after the 8 weeks, some communication.
4 times he said someone will be there.
One text said,
"We're finishing a gate installation in your area, then making way to your job." Well, that never happened. This is the stage where you start to doubt that you've got the right guy for the job.
sticking to contractors who are members of the association is an option, because if things go wrong, FCANS can help. For those contractors who aren't members,
there's only a certain amount that the association can do. Do your homework around those contractors, make some phone calls, and just make sure you get those references.
which would have helped Steve.
From August to December last year, it was a lot of unanswered calls, broken promises, and a whole lot of waiting.
I'm feeling ignored at this point. In come the excuses. I am getting about 30, 40 calls a day. I'm really busy to talk to you over and over again. And so I've got a worker who's just been injured. And I'm going, oh, well, I don't really want to know about all this stuff. What I want is what you promised.
And then just before Christmas last year, an email from Tizane.
I will happily refund the remaining $1,009 of your $7,000 deposit. Please let me know when you would like the materials delivered.
So Tizane was going to give Steve the raw materials. About $6,000 went to buying them. That $1,009 was the remainder. Not quite a Christmas gift, but it is something. And then
The goods never arrived. The money in the bank never arrived. So I contacted him again. Guess what? It's disconnected. And then I fired him an email. Guess what? It bounced back. So I've had no communications, no way to get hold of this guy.
until Fair Go got involved.
So we just want to understand from you, like, what's happened exactly?
I've had some personal stuff go down, so I had a couple of my friends sort of take over and finish what was left of the jobs. So there was a couple of other jobs that I had to finish, and his was one that never got done.
We've heard a lot of excuses on Fair Go, but after seeing evidence from Tizane, we understand his actions were a result of personal circumstances.
I never had any intentions of ever ripping anyone off.
Tizane says the business is no longer running.
And never took any other jobs since November last year.
He does say that most of the deposit money went on buying materials, but he can no longer access these. Tizane knows he's stuffed up, knows he should have communicated better, and wants to give Steve's money back.
And when are you thinking of doing that?
I'm happy to return his money, even make payments until I have some money come through. I won't be doing it again, but I'm more than happy to make things right.
So what do you think about that?
Well, it's the right thing to return my money, of course. And if it has to be in instalments, then that's something, isn't it? I understand, that's life and we all have trouble, but you've got to be careful not to take on jobs or things that you can't do, right?
This is a very complex and tricky situation. I think Steve is being very fair, and it's good that both parties are communicating now, because that really is the key. And good to hear a payment plan is in place. We'll be watching to make sure that follows through.